it's not my fault. I didn't do this. It's your fault. You didn't explain it well to me. I want to address, what it's like to work with a partner, a spouse, a family member, because look, it's very challenging. Hey guys, this is Faye and welcome to this channel. I'm excited that you're here. This is part of a freelance series for 2020. So if you're thinking about contemplating whether you want to become a freelancer, or if you're already a freelancer as a side hustle and want to foresee how that could potentially turn into a full-time gig, then this is the right series for you. Now, today the topic is a little bit different. I want to address, what it's like to work with a partner, a spouse, a family member, because look, that can be very challenging. I know I'm not the first one to share this point of view with you. You probably have heard it, have experienced it firsthand, but it's very challenging. It doesn't matter the role that you're playing. In most cases, you probably witness a, sort of parents, kids relationships, or siblings or spouses, and I want to break it down to some of the practical advice. And guess what? You probably know in some areas better than I do. I would love to hear from you and have that exchange, because I am, currently, and I've been in a situation where I work with my life and business partner. So, which means we're life partners and we're also in the business together. First of all, I want to clarify, everyone is different, right? As, if you're a man or a woman, that relationship that you have with each other is very different. I know that sometimes a challenge, as you can imagine, when parents working with their kids is that they try to remain that authoritative figure, and their kids, on the other hand, are already adults. So that can be very challenging. But also for spouses that are challenging, if you can't even manage doing dishes together, you scream at each other for when to throw out the trash and how the furniture is arranged in your home. If you feel like you're already arguing about sort of mundane sort of things in life, then you wonder, do I want to add more filters as opposed to more projects we're going to work on together. So here are some of the things that I learned through my own experience. Number one is have that mutual respect, meaning when you start working together, it's not like all of a sudden you have the exact same boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband relationship, and you just shift that right into business. You still talk to each other the same way, make the same assumptions. That, to me, and I've seen a lot of cases, that doesn't work. So in a way, you almost have to put on a sort of a work mask on, and worse, more complicated, right? It's not just all of a sudden you change your voice and you become this boss or a colleague, and as if you don't have that prior relationship in place. That doesn't work. So I try to aim for somewhere in the middle where I know that this person is close to me, but on the other hand, I have to treat him, in my case, of making sure that he understands the requirements, making sure that I'm taking the time to explain what's going on. Because guys, just because you live under the same roof, just because you've known each other in a relationship for 10, 20 years, doesn't mean that you know how to work together. That is very different. When you work on a project, building a home, buying furniture and stuff, it's different than when you're a creator. So for example, in my case, I'm a digital marketer. I have clients and we build websites together for our clients. And it's really important for me, for example, to articulate and explain my vision to my partner so that when he picks up the work I left off, then he knows what he's doing. Now, let's talk about errors and mistakes. That's gonna happen just like everywhere else. I know you know this, but it could get a little bit fiery when you're dealing with this with your partner, right? You have this tone issue because your relationship is changing. All of a sudden you realize that you can't just really talk to him or her like you're in a relationship, because now it's all strictly work. So I think for me, it's important to slow down and take the time, because if you're both working from home, like we are, it's really important that you keep a little bit of a distance. And when you're working together, that distance is very quickly disappearing and you're together all the time. You may be working from your office and he might approach and just enters right in and say, hey, I have a question about the project you just talked about. So it sounds silly, right? Why would you schedule time on the calendar with your partner to talk about business? But actually do that. Because then you know that something that needs 30 minutes to discuss, you won't just brush it off for 5 minutes because it was an inconvenient time for you. So set up time, explanation as if you were working in an office environment with someone who don't know you as intimately well. Here's another area, which is the importance of thanking and appreciating one another. When you're at work, somebody did a great job or was able to complete a project under a tight timeline, you do have to thank that person, address something that he or she did really well. So for me, I try to look at a deliverable and not with the lens of I'm going to correct it. Of course, naturally, I'm going to do a quick review to make sure that it's done well and it's done right. It's important to point out things first that you think that has been done well. And then if you spot something and it's something that you need to acknowledge. Now it's important because it's a two-way street. If your partner all of a sudden starts to overreact, it's not my fault, I didn't do this, it's your fault, you didn't explain it well to me. I know it can be challenging. You have to take a deep breath if you want to continue working together and explain the situation. And sometimes it gets really heated. It's important to say, find an excuse and actually cut the conversation short and come back to it when you're a little bit more ready to deal with it. What I also want to say is have a trial run. Instead of sitting down with your partner and say, you know what, this is a project for 6 months. I really need some help. I think you should be the help and let's do it together. I think really figure out your roles that you're playing. I know that for me as a freelancer, it's very flat. So it's not like I'm really commanding someone. And I personally, no matter what, wouldn't prefer to do that anyway, but especially not with a partner. So it's important for me to be somewhat equal, but still be able to say, you know what? Especially if this is my area of expertise and it hasn't been yours. Number one, I appreciate your help, but it's important for us to have that discussion, right? When you're not fully understanding what I'm talking about, when you're really getting stuck, look, it's a privilege. We're living inside the same house. So we should be able to teach each other and help each other out and be patient about that. Let's grow together. I think it's an opportunity that can, go really well or not well at all. I even heard about couples started working together and actually as a result breaking up, filing divorces. I mean, dramatic things could happen. And start with a project that you're honestly a little more low key. Don't throw your spouse or partner onto a project that's already firing up and getting really heated. That a client who's particularly challenging, that will not be the right project to start with. Start with something that you're comfortable with. Start with smaller tasks that you feel more control of. So for example, when you kick off a new client that's unknown, it's probably best for you to kind of take care of a few things and have your partner and spouse work in the background a bit. The moment you start presenting them as a partner in front of your client, it changes the relationship because then it opens up to more significant shared responsibilities. With all of that said, now, the mutual respect is very important. If you ever find yourself in a situation where somehow you brought your spouse, partner in, and somehow you're getting screamed at all the time, it's your fault. How come you didn't explain this to me? How come, how much are you paying me or you're not paying me enough? If these things are coming through to you almost as an attack, then I would say it's not a good idea to partner. It's really important then to take a backseat for your partner to really reconsider whether this is a good partnership or not. Because in some cases, some people even argue, in most cases, it's not a good idea. You're complicating your relationship by introducing professional work into the mix. But you just never know. And I know some of you guys, you don't have a choice. It's important that the client work is here and you know that when it works out well, it's better for everyone, right? Because the money stays within the family and you can both benefit from it. but it definitely comes with a set of challenges. So I hope you find this a little bit helpful, and please leave your comments below. I would love to figure out, sort of what you're thinking. And I think gender does play a role in all of this as well. Men working with women working with women, the dynamics could be different. So I'm really curious to learn what you have to share with me as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out the other episodes from within the Freelance How-To series. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do, and hit the bell button so every time I post a new video, you'll be notified, and I'll see you next time.